Eternity, a short story. Chapter 1, Ritual. In a foreign land and bygone age, there was a whispered tale of a tome of arcane knowledge, a grimoire of ancient and forbidden lore. This book, bound in tattered leather and emblazoned with strange symbols and incantations, was said to hold the secrets of summoning a powerful and terrifying creature, a being of immense power and malevolent intent. For generations, it had been passed down through secretive cults and occult practitioners, each one guarding its secrets with jealous fervor. Alyssa, a young woman of curious and ambitious mind, became obsessed with the book and its promises of power and wealth. She spent months studying the ancient ritual and gathering the necessary materials, including the blood of virgins, the hearts of the innocent, and the eyes of the blind. She went to great lengths to acquire these materials, even resorting to murder and sacrifice and God knows what else. Finally, Alyssa looked at the summoning circle she had drawn on the floor of her basement, shrouded in darkness and secrecy. Everything was well prepared. She started to recite the incantations and made the offerings as outlined in the book. The ritual was long and grueling, and Alyssa was covered in blood and sweat by the time she came near its conclusion. As she reached the final stage of the ritual, an eerie wind began to blow through the room. The candlelights responded to it with a rhythmic flickering. Alyssa felt a sense of dread and unease, but she pushed these feelings aside, determined to see the ritual through to the end. Suddenly, there was a blinding flash of light, and the creature appeared before her. As the book had described it, the horrifying monstrosity had tendrils writhing from several parts of its body. His many sickly yellow eyes were all over his head, and each one of it stared right into the depths of her soul. The deformed body was covered in thick, black fur, and its twitching tendrils were tipped with razor-sharp claws. As it moved, it left a trail of blood and viscera behind. Various gray chunks of rotten meat had materialized around the creature's feet the moment it was summoned. As it looked so far, these flesh had been originated from something or somebody else. Alyssa was filled with a mix of terror and excitement as she looked upon the abominable thing. She stepped forward and offered it the final offering, a human heart. The creature accepted it and in a low voice said, "You have summoned me, now you belong to me." With these words, the beast coiled his tendrils around her and dragged her into darkness. Minutes felt like hours. Alyssa was calm. It was that peaceful calmness that sometimes sets in after accepting an inevitable fate. The tendrils of the creature still had her in a tight grip. She waited for the pain to set in. The stench of this thing was overwhelming, but not in a bad way. Then, instead of consuming her, the creature revealed its true intentions. Its form was always shifting shape, and it knew that its monstrosity would test Alyssa's courage and determination. Now, in the pale light, its outlines looked almost human, but no matter how hard Alyssa tried, she could never take hold on the shape of its face or tell if the voice was female or male. The creature told her how impressed it was by her bravery and decided to reward her and fulfill her deepest desires. It told her that it had been searching for a suitable companion for centuries, and that she was the one it had been waiting for. In fact, it was not a devil or demon, but a powerful and ancient being from an old bloodline that had traveled even time itself to find someone like her. Alyssa was shocked and surprised, but as she looked into the creature's many yellow eyes, she knew that it was telling the truth. She felt a growing connection to the strange entity, a feeling of familiarity and belonging. Alyssa realized that she had fallen in love with the beast, and she knew that it felt the same way about her. And so in the very same night they embarked on a journey. The hunger for discovery and dark adventure was drawing them to the most hidden corners of the world, striving for nothing less than to unlock the deepest secrets of the universe. And from the first days, they were bound by a strange love that transcended time and space. A bond crafted by such love will for sure withstand until eternity must end. Chapter 2, Descent. However, as time passed, Alyssa began to notice that the creature was not as truthful and benevolent as it first seemed. It was a master of illusions and manipulation, and with cunning treachery it had been slowly altering her perception of reality. She started to see the world in a twisted and distorted way, and her own appearance began to change accordingly. Alyssa's once beautiful face slowly withered away, becoming more and more monstrous with each passing day. She became consumed by a hunger for blood and death, just like the creature she loved. Insidiously, Alyssa started to do terrible things. The beast used its illusions to make her victims believe they deserved it, and the brood from the stars enjoyed their sufferings. She became spellbound in a cycle of violence and death, unable to break free from the creature's grasp. Forever consumed by her love for it and her fear of losing it. She couldn't see that she was becoming a monster herself, and her soul was slowly being consumed by darkness. And so, Alyssa became more and more like the creature she had summoned years ago. She reveled in the power and control she had over others, using her own illusions now to manipulate and dominate those around her. She became feared and reviled by those who crossed her path, and soon, they were forced to flee into hiding. The creature, her companion and lover, had become her master. It controlled her every move and thought, and Alyssa was powerless to resist its will. She was trapped in a world of darkness and despair, with no hope of escape. As the years passed, the influence and power of her scourge was very slowly, and nearly imperceptible, becoming weaker and weaker. Alyssa did not know if the unholy thing had really begun to lose its grip on her or if it was just bored by her company, but she realized that there was a glimmer of hope again. She remembered the girl she once was, before the beast had begun to consume her soul. She felt her love for knowledge and adventure again, and she knew that there was still a spark of that girl within her. Determined to break free from the creature's hold after all these years, Alyssa began to study the ancient grimoire once more. She searched for a way to banish the creature and reclaim her freedom. She spent countless nights poring over the pages of the book, searching for a way to break the ritual and send the creature back to the abyss from which it came. Finally, after many long months of study and experimentation, Alyssa discovered a ritual that would banish the creature for good. She gathered the necessary materials. After all her wicked research and expeditions, most of them were already in her possession. Then she embarked to perform the ritual in secret, deep in the woods where no one would find her or disturb her doings. As she recited the incantations and made the offerings, the creature began to writhe in pain. It knew that its hold on Alyssa was slipping, and it fought with all its might to keep her under its control. But Alyssa was stronger now, and she refused to be a prisoner any longer. With a final burst of power, the ritual was complete. But as the creature vanished, Alyssa sensed that the ritual had also lifted the veil of magic and revealed her true form. She saw herself as the monstrous being she had truly become, twisted and corrupted by her master's influence. The ritual had not only banished the creature, it had also sealed her fate in return. As she stood there, alone in the woods, Alyssa knew that she could never return to the world of man. She knew that she would have to spend the rest of her days in hiding, forever haunted by the things she had done. And so, Alyssa disappeared into the shadows, never to be seen again. But the people of the nearby villages whispered of a demonic beast that roamed the woods at night. A creature of darkness and terror, and they knew that it was the price that had to be paid for the power that the once beautiful girl had sought. Chapter 3: Awakening. The next days and weeks, Alyssa's mind was foggy and in a trance-like state as she slowly recovered from the dark magic's influence. How was she so focused on defeating the creature that she had not realized herself had changed that much? Alyssa wandered the woods, lost in her despair. Horrified by the things she had done, the lives she had taken, a trail of blood in her wake. She was a monster, a creature out of a fever dream, feared and exiled because of her hideous form. It was obvious that returning to her old life was no option anymore. As she drifted along, she began to notice that some strange changes were happening to her mind and the world around her. Everything looked different, more vibrant and colorful, like there was a second layer of existence shining through to our reality. Over time her world became like a psychedelic trip that would never end, and Alyssa could not tell how many days had gone by anymore. she slowly lost all sense of self and time. Dimensions and realities interwoven, distant memories of a better past, they all became a blurry mess over time. Her mind and thoughts moved only slow, like every word in her head was sticking in some thick black tar and had to fight its way out of it to see the light of day. She tried to recall her name. She was pretty sure that she had a name. Her hand came to rest on the powerful talisman around her neck. She lifted it up, and as her gaze fell upon its interloped form, a sudden heavy pain exploded in her head. Then all the memories came rushing back in as if some seal or gate had been broken. She was Alyssa, a woman, a master of the mystic arts. She had to hold on to these memories. There has to be a way out of this circle of despair, she thought, if she could find a way to break the cycle, a passage only for her to find. And then, there it was, a glimpse of hope again. The hidden secrets and all the magic knowledge and artifacts she had sought out and collected in the past dark ages of her existence. Somewhere in there had to be a solution. That one overlooked spell that would make all the difference. And so Alyssa opened once more the dark and forbidden book she had started to collect so many years ago. Her hands came across her old grimoire, trembling. Her fingers wandered across the old leather and the embossed runes on the front. She noticed its strange but familiar smell, not a bad stench, but hard to define. Slowly she opened the old book, just randomly. Alyssa looked at the dark symbols in front of her. She could not remember this page. This ritual had never before occurred to her. Was it even in there in the past? While she was pondering over this mystery, she started to whisper, "Alyssa, I am Alyssa." She repeated this word several times like a mantra while she stared hypnotized at the open book in front of her. Slowly she began to understand what she was looking at. This ritual, could this be her pathway to salvation? Her heart felt as if it was going to explode out of her chest at any moment. She had not felt it beating for many years. Alyssa screamed into the night, "This will be my way out. I will break the cycle, and if the gods will, even time and space itself." Chapter 4, Interlocked. 3 months later, Alyssa had prepared even the most rare and unholy ingredients that she would need for her next and final ritual. This will be her magnum opus. It will change everything, maybe even give her a new chance, a chance to get her life back. Now she was standing on a large hillside in front of a giant altar made out of a strange black rock. This thing was not made on this planet. Instead, it has been fallen out of the sky eons ago. Strange interlaced symbols were skillfully carved into its surface. They had a slow movement inside themselves, and so it looked like they were alive and had a will of their own. No human hands could have done this masterful work. In fact, humans didn't even exist in the long-forgotten past this thing was made in. The whole place had an otherworldly green glow to itself, except no fires or lights were burning. The shine emanated from the thick green mist that slowly billowed over the plateau. Alyssa turned her head to the sky and mumbled to herself, "The planets are in conjunction with the 7 sisters. It is time now." Slowly she lifted her hands up in the air. A green flame started to burn in front of her, ignited by a flash. The unholy fire slowly consumed the little skull of the unborn child that Alyssa had placed on the table's shining silver-lined runes. Only the light of the moon was reflected by this strange metal. Words too old to be known by man filled the air as Alyssa chanted the unholy passage of the forbidden ritual she had found in her books. A deep humming sound started to build up, became louder and louder, and finally, as it reached its peak, it was like something teared a hole into the fabric of reality itself. For a second it became totally quiet. Time stopped and Alyssa was pulled so hard into the dark maelstrom expanding around her that she could feel some of her bones just getting shattered inside of her arms and legs. Her body felt like it was on fire in 1 second, then frozen to ice in the blink of an eye. As the universe collapsed around her, she was falling into the space between spaces, entered time before time. The pain became unreal. The human body she once had, even now monstrous and deformed, was not made to travel this unknown regions of space and higher dimensions. Beware traveling time itself. Alyssa's body and mind changed again, as she rushed further through the abyss. Her arms, and legs became longer. Her vision started to blur as 12, sickly, yellow eyes painfully opened up on her head. A dense, black fur grew out of her skin everywhere, and many arm-long black tendrils with razor-sharp claws on their ends emerged from her deformed torso. Alyssa squealed. "I have to remember who I am. I am Alyssa." She repeated her name again and again in her head. Then everything seemed to contract around her being, space and time falling into itself. A flash of light, the smell of death, and the creature once called Alyssa, materialized in a dark basement, lit only by some flickering candles. The last pieces of Alyssa's old body fell as gray dead chunks of flesh to the ground, right at the feet of the creature she had become. It was standing in the center of a circle painted with clay, surrounded by strange symbols. In front of it, covered in blood and sweat, there was a young woman. One word echoed in the beast's mind: Alyssa. The young woman, her face looked familiar somehow, stepped forward. In her stretched out hands, she had a fresh bloody heart. It smelled delicious. The creature repeated the word in his head for one last time: Alyssa. That must be the woman's name. How beautiful she was. It took the heart out of the girl's hands and said in a low voice, "You have summoned me. Now, you belong to me." With these words, the beast coiled his tendrils around the young woman and dragged her into darkness. The end.